Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes, indeedy.
Oh, my goodness. We got a great show planned for you today. And here we are following up behind Aaron and Eric and Vitamin D, Daniel. Yes, indeedy. We got a great show going today. You guys are going to like it. Going to count on you guys getting involved with me a little bit today. So looking forward to that and getting your all's opinion on a few things that we're going to talk about. It is hump day already. Can y'all believe it? We are excited to be rolling into mid-July. You know, here we are, July 16th. I want to give a big shout out to my sister if she's listening to us. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. She is 29 and holding today. 29 and holding. So, but anyway, happy birthday, Sherry, if you're listening. So, I know she listened to us quite a bit. She's one of my biggest fans. And quite honestly, she always has been one of my biggest fans, even since I was little. Going back to, I don't know, let's say out of the womb. She's always been there, been special for me. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've probably got either a sibling or somebody that you feel like that about. And Sherry just was always there. My mom and dad were great parents, to say the least. But my dad worked a lot. We've talked about that, and we're not going to reiterate that today. But he worked a lot, so he didn't get a whole lot of time to be on hand for like school events, athletic events. And Sherry always was there. I played baseball, so Sherry would always be at my baseball games for me. And so I always did appreciate her doing that. And that was back in the day when you could still buy beer at grade school events, if you will. Maybe because we were Catholics. I don't know. Catholics beer, bingo, and bratwurst, right? But you get a little beer involved at some of that sometimes, and I can't imagine as wild as things are now. Without it, because now you can, of course. But back then, you still used to be able to get a little beer at the Catholic sporting events, and yeah. So now Sherry didn't drink. Now let me say that she did not. She drank, but not there. Hers was not alcohol induced involvement. I'll put it like that. But yeah, she was always there. She'd always come to my games. She'd always give the umpire heck for me. Because I pitched a little bit, and I really enjoyed that. And she would always like help the umpire with the strike zone, if you will. So. Anyways, Sherry, happy birthday. Thanks for always being there for me growing up. And she also disciplined me a little bit. One I'm not going to share here on the radio today with you guys, but my mom and dad were out of town, and she was keeping track of where I was supposed to be. And so we had a little disciplinary action one time when I was a young teenager. So, and I wasn't mad. I ain't mad at her for it. I was mad then at her. But it sounds like this is a roast Sherry kind of party, but it's really not. I just a big shout out on her just being there. And, there's been a lot of things, all the way through that, that she's kind of helped me with, and I can always talk to her about. And she knows things about my personal life that other people don't know, and, so anyway, happy birthday, you filthy animal. She finally got squared away. On where she wants to live, I think, because her husband passed away. Be 2 years in December, and she, for anybody been through that, you understand how you're just trying to get stuff squared away and settled away, and so she ended up selling their house that they had, and didn't want the responsibilities of all of that, and was looking for a condo, then looking for an apartment, and uh, that whole thing. And so she moved, and now moved again. So I think she's squared away. I think she's squared away and where she likes. She actually came back here to the sunny side of the world. She was over in Indiana, just southern Indiana. She was just 15 minutes away. But she decided she wanted to get back over here on this side of the river. So we're glad to have her back. Happy birthday. And glad I got to see you a little bit last night and wish you happy birthday. Well, tomorrow, guys, I want you guys to know that I'm heading out of town. I'm going to be off the grid for a while, literally. And so I will see you guys back. Katie and Daniel going to help out with my show next week, and because we're going out west on a west trip, me and a few friends, and I have no idea. Probably don't. Daniel, did y'all have service out there when were in Montana? It wasn't as bad as you'd think, he said. So Tab and I were talking about that a little bit last night, and I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure major areas probably have cell coverage, but when you get out there in middle of God's country, uh, maybe not. Yeah. So Daniel said between the attractions, it gets a little spotty. So I can certainly believe that 100%. So just curious if any of you guys have ever been out that way. When I say west, we're flying into Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I think it is. And then we've rented a vehicle, and then we're just going to drive to different locations. So have no idea where we're going. Robin has been our tour director on that, very best friend, and so we're going to trust her judgment on where we're going. Uh, so there's four of us going. So Robin and her husband Timmy and a great friend Charlie's going. So there we go. It's going to be four of us roaming the West. Maybe we'll find a gold nugget or two while we're out there. Wonder if people still paying for gold. Does anybody know that? That'd be a interesting. There's got to be gold left. I mean, it couldn't have got it all. I mean, you would just think from erosion and whatnot, you'd have a little more popping up uh, at some point. So, so yeah, Seth, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, appreciate you wishing us safe travels, and I'll let you guys know about it for sure on what it was like. I've never been out that way for fun. I mean, I've been out, done some seminars out there. I actually Sioux City. I think it was Sioux City. Does that sound about right, Daniel? Sioux City. We're going to Rapid City, but I think I'm trying to think seminar wise. It was somewhere out in South Dakota, and then also Boise, Idaho. Been out there a few times for their state lawn and landscape association speaking, and that man, you talk about an awesome place. That Boise, Idaho was really nice, and then also went to uh, another. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Nevada. We were in Nevada, the top side of Nevada, or Idaho, Twin Falls, Idaho. Yeah. So yeah, it was all good, all good. So that's so I've been out west and I've flown over it and seen the tops of the mountains, and I had actually had a lady with one of the locations did a seminar with a company called Pipeco out there. They were an irrigation supply, and they took me around a little bit. So that's really the only touring, if you will, that I did. I was in between seminars. I was doing a couple different locations for them, and in between days, they took me to Snake River Canyon. Now, you're going to have to be a little bit older to remember this one, but that's where Evil Knievel tried jumping the Snake River on a motorcycle. Called it. It was a jet propelled motorcycle, but they took me to where he took his big jump that was not successful. But he had a parachute and that whole deal from what they were saying. So I remember Evil Knievel, but it was pretty crazy watching him do his thing. But that was cool seeing that. That was still set up in there. So, anyways, other than that, we're gonna talk a little bit about customers in general. We're going to talk about customer expectations a little bit today and how that can vary greatly. You guys understand that for sure. But before we get into all that, I want to take a short break and we'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio. Your industry, your station. Don't you go anywhere. I had a late start today. And you're like, Wayne, what in the world's that got to do with seeing everybody at the expo? Because at the expo, you got to be a little flexible sometimes. And running your business, you got to be a little flexible sometimes. And this morning was one of those mornings. We had a late start here. We actually got uh, everybody in and out of here about 10 o'clock, and a little bit before, and we got one still getting ready to go out. But other than that, we had a late start. We had some pretty heavy rain around here this morning, and I want to give my friends at BAM weather again for keeping us on the straight and narrow, and letting us know, hey, it looks good, but don't trust it just yet. And yeah, so anyways, they gave us a good launch time, and so far so good with that. Kyle's already been out and about and had an appointment. We already had a customer call us this morning, and I really, he's a great customer, and you guys probably have one. I'm just curious. I want to know if you guys got one like this, but we got more than one. But maybe you got at least one. Somebody that just calls you all the time, and just like he's a great person, great guy. Uh, he even called us one day, and I shared this with y'all already. He even called us one day while we were under a tornado warning. But I mean, we went out yesterday, and Kyle did actually. Kyle went out and sprayed some milkweed for him, and before Kyle we went out there to do it for him, he's like, "Hey, I'll swing by while I'm out running some appointments, and I'll get that sprayed for you because it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't worth sending an applicator out there to do it. It was one of those kind of jobs. So it was just something simple we could pick up and get sprayed. So Kyle told him, they're calling for rain in a few hours. He says, but it'll be fine. He's like, oh yeah, okay. He said, when I could do this, I used to, do that and didn't worry about the rain. I know, once we're dry, we're good and blah, blah, blah. And so anyway, so Kyle went ahead and got it sprayed for him, and it wasn't 30 minutes after we had a shower yesterday afternoon, a little shower, he calls up and he says, well, I was just checking to see if it was okay that it rained, and the product had plenty of dry time. It was good, and okay, all right, great, everything's fine, Mr. Smith. And so then this morning he called back again and talked to Katie, and Katie's like, "Oh my God, it's him again." And I don't want y'all to think we don't appreciate our customers, because we do. But I'm just curious, do any of you guys have that, "Oh my gosh, it's them calling again" kind of experience? Let me know. 502-550-8307. 502-550-8307. I mean, we love this guy, man. He's been a customer a long time, and but he just is like that. I don't know if he literally fell off his roof a couple falls ago. Not I know that's one of those words. What do they call those? Like fall, winter time, but when like you fall. But anyway, a couple falls ago, he was cleaning his gutters out, and he went from one side of his roof on his home to the other, and he slid off. I mean, it was only a single story, so it wasn't like he hurt himself too bad, but he did hurt his back some. But ever since then, I think it kind of joggled his mind a little bit, because he just doesn't seem to remember like he used to, or maybe he's using that as an excuse now. I'm not sure, but but anyways, a super nice guy. But He went from one side of his roof to the other, and when he went to the other side, it was still in the shade. So the roof had frost on it. He's got a metal roof, and he literally slid off his roof. And so that's how we've ended up doing a lot more work for him. He used to take care of most of his work. We did like his landscape maintenance and his spraying, you know, for him, his fertilization and weed control for his turf areas. And he would take care of his beds. His beds are immaculate. I'm just here to tell you. And I mean, if you find a weed in any of his beds, I mean, you've worked really hard to find one. And so I don't know why he just didn't spray this milkweed himself. Not that we mind going out there. I mean, it's a billable, but I mean, we don't mind doing it. But we were just couldn't believe he didn't do it, you know. And I think he was just worried about it for some reason. But long story short, he's called us 3 times total since yesterday afternoon, or maybe not even afternoon, since about lunch, and just checking to make sure things are going to be okay. And Corey said if they make it to 3 straight complaint calls, we drop them. And heck, Corey, maybe you're serious. I don't know if you're serious or not, but we might be a good policy to put in place. And he's not complaining, and that's actually something that I want to talk about a little bit today too. Is how do you handle complaint calls? Now, this wasn't a complaint call, or at least not yet. Because finally this morning, Katie told him, and we have not reminded him that he's already called us a couple other times, right, Katie? Yeah, she just keeps answering his question for him that no, that it's okay. It's dry. It had plenty of dry time. And, Mr. Smith, we're just wait about 7 to 10 days. And, if you're not seeing the results that you want, because if you want 3 or 4 days, you know how you get to know your customers, right? You tell them longer, right? So in his case, whatever it is, we add to it because we know that then he'll wait about half that amount of time and then he'll reach back out to us, is what it amounts to. So anyway, long story short, we'll see. Katie told him that today, hey, wait 7 to 10 days, and if you're not seeing what you want, give us a call back. So we figured that'd get us, 3 or 4 days, potentially to Monday, and then by then he'll see that it's dying and he'll be okay, But we love them, right? Do you love your customers like that too? I mean, we really do. I mean, he's not nasty when he calls, but I know we're not the only ones that have, a customer like that. But let's see. Corey said, "Serious. If we can't fix it, and the calls are repeated, it just isn't a good fit." And you know what? And I do agree with that 100%, Corey. If it's something we did, then it don't count. But if it's then this is what Corey said. If it's something we did, then it didn't count. So if it's a legitimate complaint, so they basically get 3 challenges. Let's call them that, Corey. They get 3 challenges, and that's fair because sometimes a customer can get to the point where they're not worth the time and the effort for the money spent. And I think that's something that we all need to look at a little bit, as at what point does a customer cross over that line for you in your world, in your business, however you want to look at it, to when you just say, hey, it's going to be more profitable to release this customer than it is to try to maintain the customer, based on what they're spending and the potential profit dollars involved with that. So just something to think about, And, I would like your all's opinion on that too, is when's the last time you had to fire a customer? And I know we've talked about it before, but that's something I want you to think about a little bit, is when's the last time, that you actually had to fire a customer, and have you yet? Because I know a lot of you guys are smaller companies and maybe you haven't yet. I went a long time without that. And when I would hear people talking about that, I'd be like, why are you getting rid of somebody? Why are you getting rid of somebody? I wish I would have learned faster that maybe sometimes the best thing I do is get rid of somebody, you know. And I was a slow learner on that. So sometimes it's much more profitable to get rid of them than it is to than it is to keep them. And I don't know. Everybody's got their own opinion on that. And when it comes to complaining customers, sometimes that really boils down to what does the service contract look for that customer as well, and did you agree to the terms of that service agreement? So, with that being said, we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back to that after our break. So, stay right with us. Appreciate you guys being here with me on Profit Time. Corey sent me an interesting text during our break there. He said he had a lady call him at 3 a.m. during a thunderstorm. And he said, like, I was going to be happy about it. He said, I was kind of confused and said energy was off. I guess her power was out. I told her I was confused, and she said that wasn't it. I called her during business hours. This is Corey. The next day, and she said it felt like I didn't want to talk to her. Sorry, Corey, I didn't mean to laugh. I didn't want to talk to her. I had only cut her grass one time. I consulted with my wife and we ultimately dropped her. I mean, first of all, I think you were really, really nice answering the phone at 3 in the morning on a number that, you didn't know, or if you knew it was a customer. I mean, that's the outstanding part of it, the customer service side of it. But yeah, and I can almost understand it, Corey, for real, thinking, Jesus, was something really wrong? Why would somebody be calling me at 3 in the morning? But yeah, that sounds like a legitimate reason to get rid of you. I mean, for you to get rid of her. I mean, if she's going to call you 3 in the morning and then be mad because you're not excited about it, I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's almost the epitome of it. We're supposed to be excited all the time when these people call us and understand their trials and tribulations and frustrations. And obviously, that's what we're in business to do, to be a problem solver for our customers, right? To satisfy their needs and wants. But there has got to be a line that they don't cross and we don't cross as business owners doing that. And, getting back to what that really means. Yeah. Getting back to what that really means is this, and this is it in real life. How do we potentially nip something in the bud before it becomes a 3 a.m. phone call to you? And the specifically what I wanted to talk about that now for just a few minutes is a snow request for service. We got an RFQ in by email the other day from a facility that had 6 locations, and we're not going to beat this horse too hard, but I'm just going to plant that seed to get everybody thinking about it, because it's that time of the year when you're going to start seeing things like this rolling through. But the stupid things that you got to watch out for in these requests for a proposal or a quote when you get them. And this one had signs written all over it that this was going to be a pain. Number one is something for you guys that are doing snow or maybe new into snow. First of all, let's just beat this horse right now. Be very, very careful. And what I really want to say is don't do it, because I just don't do it. But that does not mean that you shouldn't do it. But I'm going to tell you why I don't do it. Okay. That's why I'm saying be very, very careful signing someone else's contract. Because when it boils down to it, who and what do they have in mind? That's the question. Now, in this case, we're talking about snow, but it could be mowing, it could be anything. It could be lighting, it could be irrigation, it could be whatever service it is that you provide. When somebody comes to you with their contract that they want you to sign, they've written that contract more than likely in their favor. And that's something that I don't want you guys to ever forget. Now, if it's my business, I'm going to have my own contract that somebody's going to work with Wayne's Lawn Service under, or we're not going to work for them. Now, that's just me. That doesn't mean that you can't be successful signing somebody else's service contracts. Okay. I'm just saying, do your due diligence in reviewing that particular contract for verbiage and terms in that verbiage, terms and conditions, and it all boils down to the verbiage and the terms and conditions of the contract. The who, what, where, when, and why. And that is probably the absolute most important and best advice that we can talk about today, is how you should just protect yourself and your customers. That's the thing about a well-written service contract, is it's good for everybody involved. But when a contract leans one way or the other, which in a lot of cases they do, especially when it comes to snow contracts, and it could be anything, but we're talking snow for a minute. We got to be really careful as the contractor when we sign somebody else's service agreement, when it's got verbiage in it like lot must be clear by 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 10 p.m., whatever time frame they throw in there. Because when you look at it from that perspective, what's the biggest unknown about snow? What is the absolute biggest unknown about snow? And that, for me, in my experience, is when's it going to start and how much you're going to get. Because that's how I can determine if I'm going to sign somebody's contract that says lot must be clear, and we'll deal with the word clear in a minute. A better word, there's a better word to be used. But when you sign somebody else's contract that says like lot will be clear by 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever time frame they throw in there, and the lot is not taken care of by that time frame, guess what you've done? You've not performed to the scope of the contract. And when you don't perform to the scope of the contract, then it gives them a realistic methodology on how to not pay for the services that have been rendered, whether in full or in partial. That's why I say you got to take the time to do your due diligence to utilize a service contract that is well written and doesn't favor either party involved. Because you're setting yourself up for nothing but failure if we sign a contract that was sent over to us as a template to look at for these 6 locations. Another thing that was bad within this one, and it's evident in a lot of them that we see roll through here, especially from some of these national firms, is when they say lot must be clear or lot must stay clear. There's only really one definition of clear. And Daniel or Katie, look that up for me. The definition of clear. It's got to be the absence of. Just, you know, but the reason it's bad in a snow, like a clear lot. Yeah. Uh, yeah. To remove an obstruction or an unwanted item. Now, that sounds like a simple thing to do, doesn't it? To have the lot cleaned off or cleared. But what happens what happens during an ongoing event? Number one is what I want you to think about. And what also happens after it stops snowing, the lot's been serviced, things are in good shape, we get a little bit of melt, and then we get a refreeze. Are the refreeze opportunities addressed in that service contract? Who's responsible for the refreeze? Is it you? Is it them? Or is it even addressed? So make sure that a service contract that you're signing addresses whose responsibility it is to maintain a safe as possible environment based on the weather conditions that exist during a snow season. Not a snow event, but a snow season. Again, these are little things that don't matter until they matter. And then they become problematic when you do have a slip and fall. That's where the problem comes into play. So it's up to you to decide, do you really want to sign a contract that says lot must be clear by 6 a.m. and remain clear during and after the event? And what verbiage goes along with that explanation from that service? Again, I just want you to protect yourself, because sometimes it looks good to say, oh man, here comes 6 nice jobs that we could easily put into our capacity ability of our snow and ice management side of our business. But the reality of it is the verbiage is not right. Or they want to initiate the service. And that was the case with this particular contract. They want to call and initiate the service, and you've got an hour to respond. Now, let's be realistic. Unless you're just sitting home gaming or watching cartoons, can you really respond to something like that within an hour? Even 2 hours? Probably not. And furthermore, what if they call you at 4 a.m. and say, hey, yeah, we want service on our property, and the contract says it's going to be clear by 6 a.m., and you got an hour to get there, so you get there by 5. So now you got 60 minutes to clear a property that's, hour and a half property. Let's just make it something simple, not something complicated. Just something that takes longer than the time frame to clear or plow and treat. I don't even like using the word clear because it becomes too problematic. Again, it goes back to verbiage in the contract. And I really have spent more time on this than I wanted to. But my whole point's this. A lot of these requests for quotes are going out now. They tell you also within it, and we'll talk in depth on this, and we certainly got in depth on it in the profit circle. But another thing that they're really bad at on these requests for quotes is, and they tell you, what do you charge per ton? And you know what the neat thing about it is? What do you charge per ton for material? I've seen very, very few of these that ask, how did you come up with, or what is your rate of application going to be per acre or per 1,000 square feet or based on the size of the property? They never ask for a definition. It's always, what's the price per ton? And then when they get into, this is why we don't have time to talk about all this today. Then they get into, well, all we want is sodium chloride. Now that in itself is something that becomes problematic. And we'll talk about why on another show. But that's why you, as a snow and ice management contractor, have to do your due diligence first on training, education, and knowledge, so you know when to look at some of these requests for quotes and say, man, this is the dumbest thing in the world I've ever seen in my life. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turf's Up Radio, your industry, your station. Wrapping up on our show today, and I guess the snow, and I didn't really want to spend that much time on snow today, but, you know, it's just one of those things you get talking about it and you just roll on, and there's a million things to cover with it, but, you know, just, hey, you guys are getting those proposals now. Some of you guys understand where I'm coming from. Some of you guys haven't got enough experience yet to understand it, but just understand that get a well-written service agreement, have your legal advisor check it out, make sure it's doing what you want it to do, because at the end of the day, you know, like I said, a well-written service agreement is good for both parties involved. It's not leaning one way or the other. And when you decide you're going to sign somebody else's service contract, you're setting yourself up for failure. And, you know, that's why a lot of guys now are getting out of the snow and ice management business, is simply because the insurance for that service, bless you, the insurance for that service has gotten crazy because so many people were just going out and signing stupid contracts, not looking at the verbiage. Then the insurance companies were getting blown up, you know, that they were getting themselves in trouble and costing them literally millions, if not billions of dollars as we look at it. Because when you look at slip and falls across North America as a whole, I mean, it's only second to automobile accidents as far as deaths go. So check it out. Check it out. When I say check it out, check out your contract. Make sure you got a well-written service contract that first and foremost is good for you, but secondly is good for your client. And that's when we get into a win-win situation. But a lot of these nationals that are out there getting you to work, you know, and they got a lot must be clear by a certain time. Just ask them. Just simply come out and ask them. Hey, I mean, I want to work for you guys. This looks great. Like we can both, you know, I can be a good provider. You can be a good account for us. But I've just got one question. Now they'll say, yeah, what's that? I was reading through the scope of the work and it says the lot must be clear by 6 a.m. Yeah. Yeah, that's because, you know, that's when our employees, you know, will start arriving or whatever time it is. You say, okay, what time's it going to start snowing? And they're going to say, well, I don't know. And you're going to say, I don't either. That's why I can't sign this contract. Get this contract fixed, you moron. So, hey, not literally that bad, but it is that bad. It is that bad. So take the time, do your due diligence. And I'm beating this horse hard because I don't want you guys to get yourself in a bad position. So, with that being said, you guys have a great day, great opportunity, and stay tuned right here for the Landscape Hero. You, and remember, profit is not a dirty word.